And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast. And we are going to be talking about the MVP ladder in this segment. This was the special segment that I was going to reveal now. And so far, obviously, given recent news and with Joel Embiid, he's probably not going to be in these talks for the future, given how he needs to meet that game eligibility. But here's the list as of right now for number one. Jokic is now leading in the MVPs, so it's like he's projected to win this one right now. He's number one. Second is Joel Embiid. So obviously, like those missed games definitely like took off some of his like talking points for him being better than Jokic. Same with his performance from last night. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being at third, Giannis being at fourth, Luka being at 5, Tatum being right below him. Then it's Tyrese. Then it's Sabonis, and then we have two new people that are in this this ladder right now: Jalen Brunson and Devin Booker. So that's honest. I'm honestly like very surprised to see Jalen Brunson in this particular ladder. Like I'm very surprised because like I mean I understand that the Knicks have been playing well. But at the same time, like, Jalen Brunson is not that strong on the defensive side of the ball. So and the same thing applies with Devin Booker. So I'm very surprised that I saw, like, both of these guys in this ladder, and especially Booker, because Booker has Kevin Durant on this team. So the fact that he's able to go to rise that quickly, like, with those games in the MVP ladder, that's pretty crazy in my opinion. So with the injury that Joel Embiid took, will he be eligible for the MVP? We don't know. So the 2 spot might be completely gone after he returns from his injury. We don't know what his injury status is. We don't know, but he has 12 days. If he doesn't get back in 12 days, then he's out of this list. The same thing, Tyrese Halliburton is also on the same boat. He was injured and he missed 13 games. So if he misses more than 4, he's out of this list as well. So let me know what you guys think about this 65 games requirements. Is it a good addition, or would you rather go back to the old format where like the 65 games didn't exist? Me personally, I think it's a great addition for like the MVP. It makes it a lot easier on the voters when they're like needing to choose, because like before with MVP voting and like how it was structured, it was really difficult to like pick exactly who was the best player on the best team when one of those players ended up missing a lot of games in the season due to either injury or due to load management. So it was very difficult for the voters to scale like which is more valuable. Like obviously like your best ability is your availability, so that should also be considered and taken into value when talking about the MVP. But everyone's opinion and everyone's scale on like what's important is different. So now that there's a cap and like now that there's like a requirement for like what teams like they need this, like players need this in order to qualify for this, then I feel like this definitely like helps with the voters, because like it was difficult to scale. So now that there's a cap, it makes things much more simple. Like, did they meet the 65 game requirement? They did. Okay, cool. So like boom, that's simple. Like there's no need to debate. Just they made the 65 game requirement, and you're done. This is great to make sure that players don't sit out, and really have to give credit for Adam Silver with these ideas. Like he's really like been adamant on making sure that a lot of these players stay in and play these games. Like this is great. Like Adam Silver, he's been making all of these moves. Like it started with the play-in, how like he wanted, because that's essentially what the play-in was. It was a method to keep the rest of the star players playing in these games. Because if you're a 7, 8, 9, or 10 seed and you're trying to fight for a playoff spot, you'd want to play more games in the regular season so that way you could be higher up in the seed. Like your best players want to play more games so that way they could be higher up in the seed, so that way they don't have to play in those play-in games. So, and again, and this is the same thing that's happening with like the NBA and their in-season tournament. that they added, and this has also been a thing that they've added with, I think it's the same thing applies with the 60-game cap. So I feel like these were great moves by Adam Silver, and I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for it. Actually, you know what he does? He just signed himself an extension. So, you know, I never understood why all of these players, like, they refuse to do their job and they, like, refuse to play some of these games. It's a little selfish, in my opinion. Like, it ruins the competition by, like, adding asterisks, like, oh, this guy sat out, so this game doesn't count. And I feel like that just takes away from, like, the competition, because it's like you're taking away credit from a team that won simply because their best player chose to sit out, or for whatever reason, or like simply because your best player got injured. Like, we shouldn't really put an asterisk on it. Like, injuries are part of the game, and a win is a win, and you shouldn't put an asterisk on the fact on why the team won. Like, the team won simply because they were the better team, plain and simple, not because, oh, the other team didn't have their best player. But, like, I mean, obviously that's a factor, but it's more so because, like, that team that beat them is simply a better team. And I say selfish because a lot of these star players have fans who can't afford a ticket to watch an NBA game. They scrounge up enough money to be able to pay for a ticket or a place to stay if the game is away, just to see their favorite players play on the court for the first time. And then they later find out that he is going to be sitting out for no reason. Like, that is such, like, a vibe kill if you are a fan. And as an NBA player, I think you need to, like, take this into consideration when you're going into your games. That's why, like, I like Ant. He's one of those very few players in the league left with, like, the mentality of playing every single game. Kobe literally played with a broken finger. The only time he wouldn't play is if he couldn't walk. It was amazing watching him play every single game, even when he started to get older. On the other hand, I do understand why teams would do this to ensure that their players are healthy and rested for playoffs. This started with Kawhi and his load management, but it's become a problem to the point where everyone started to abuse it. Like, it was something that, this should have been something that is saved for late in the season when you already have a spot in the playoffs that you like, and a win or a loss doesn't necessarily matter. Like, that's understandable. But missing several games in a row towards the beginning of the season just because, like, you just don't want to play, or it's just unacceptable. Or, like, just because you want to, like, if you're able to play, you should be able to play. And it's sad when it does happen. But back to the MVP race itself, once Embiid is out of the top three, it'll be Shai, Giannis up there, and Jokic, who are going to be fighting for it. At this rate, I don't really think anyone is going to stop Jokic from winning this MVP unless Giannis just pops off randomly after All-Star break. I don't see this happening whatsoever. I think Jokic is going to run away with it, maybe even be the second player to win it unanimously. Who knows? Jokic averages are just, like, they're just way too good. He's averaging a near triple-double of 26, 12, and 9. Giannis's numbers are really close, however. He averages a better field goal than Jokic, more points, same amount of rebounds, but slightly less assists. So the argument for Jokic is that he has the best record in the West and that he makes his teammates around him better. Giannis being the second seed is probably a bigger difference maker when determining, like, who's in, like, the brackets and, like, who's in not in the brackets, but who's in the MVP ladder and who's 1, 2, and 3. I feel like the seeding is definitely going to play a big role in this. Like, Giannis can make his teammates better, same way with Jokic, but it's just Jokic does it at a much, much better level than he does. The team also, the Bucks also aren't really getting that much hype around it. They still haven't really played to their full strength, in my opinion, and they're still a second seed. So if they start to figure it out with Giannis and go crazy, I mean, maybe they could make the race. Maybe he could make the race a bit closer. And you might be questioning why I haven't mentioned Shai. That's because, like, he averages crazy numbers, obviously, and crazy efficiency, but the numbers just aren't as crazy as Jokic and Giannis. Like, the overall production that Giannis and Jokic can bring to a team is just much more valuable to the overall production that Shai can bring to a team. Like, even though Shai is higher than Giannis right now, I still think Giannis should be higher than him in the ladder, simply because Giannis, there's nothing that Giannis can't do. There's nothing that Shai can do that Giannis can't do other than like really shoot the ball. But when you're averaging 31 points per game, do you really need to shoot the ball? Like, he's dominant enough to the point where he doesn't need to shoot the ball. And even if he decides to shoot the ball, like, he's still good enough to like make the shot from time to time. Like, obviously it's not going to be consistent, but he gets high efficient shots in the paint, and in my opinion, it's a lot more valuable getting those type of looks and being able to create looks for other players than it is with Shai's game and being crafty and like creative on the offensive side of the floor. Like, the key is efficiency, like, for me at least. So that's why I would put Giannis over him. And not to mention, I forgot to mention that Giannis's defense is also, like, I know Shai's been a pretty good defender this year with his steals, but Giannis is just a much better defender overall. He can defend the rim, he can defend the perimeter. You already know this. He gets steals. He does all of it. He can do everything. So I feel like that gives him the slight edge for me in MVP voting because of the value that he can 100% bring to a team and the efficiency that he could bring to a team, because he could get to the paint with ease and he can create easy looks for the others. And I think that is much more valuable than Shai. So with that, we are out of time with this show. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in, and to please remember to tip and to donate in the display below the ticker and the link in the description. I am your host, Nelson. If you like this episode, please remember to follow us, to subscribe to our show. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any type of app that carries podcasts. Please remember to subscribe, and as always, take care.